Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
How are you
everybody.
doing?
Welcome to the Sofa Chat Stories, episode number,
4 or 5.
I guess, 4 or 5.
We took like a couple of weeks of
Break?
because we were busy doing other things mainly. But I guess it is what it is.
Yes, and yeah, welcome to the channel. And today's topic is what?
Okay, we were like thinking to do something a bit different than usual. So we are not talking anymore about job, startups, all these things. But we came out with a different topic, like the innovation of the last 10 years. What are your favorites, things that came out in the last time?
Okay.
And we cannot talk about Copilot, because I know that this guy will go directly to that.
Can we talk about the AI?
You can talk about AI, but nothing connected with blockchain and how is fancy using some new tool related to blockchain. So let's go out of our comfort zone.
Okay. So I will give the word to you then. What's your favorite innovation of the past 10 years?
My favorite innovation. You know that I was thinking to make only question today. My favorite innovation, probably Copilot.
Okay.
I'm joking, of course. I would say... I need to think. Before, let me think a bit. Start you. You start.
Okay. Let's start with me.
He's reading, because in the meantime he was like thinking. There are the
I have
notes
some-
on the
I
phone.
have some notes, yes, on the
Just
phone.
like for the audience.
Yes.
But it's nice that I was like following one pre-incubator. Basically, till yesterday there was the final meeting, and there is like one person that was working with him in the past, and every time he's like waiting that we publish our new podcast, because he is one of our followers for this channel. And yeah, so it's really nice to see how many people start watching our videos to be interested in our topics. So that one, thanks a lot for this. But yeah,
Yeah, we call
Go
it suffering from success. Thanks everyone who is watching. Okay, starting with me, I put down some notes, and first on my list is the cloud computing.
cloud computing.
Yes.
So basically, you are saving your data in someone else's computer. Cloud.
I was mainly talking about the service providers like AWS. Because, well, let's go maybe a bit earlier to the history of 2014, 2015. Well, it's exactly like 10 years. And how did we host our applications, right? We needed, like, there is an IT company, right? And there is an office. And what we usually had is like a server room where we go in the host, then we buy a domain. And there are always like an admin people who are like maintaining that room, maintaining the servers. The deployment was very, very difficult to do. And yeah, we weren't able to do our releases very often, right? Because we had a lot of like problems with the servers, and the process was very cumbersome. And then the AWS appeared.
But there were no data center at the time.
There were data centers, like I think there were like Digital Oceans, but they are offering like Linux machines. But then you have to SSH into those Linux machines manually. You have to configure the environment. You need to configure Nginx and like load balancers, everything that needs to be done like manually. So you need to have some Linux skills. And then AWS appeared, and I think it's still the most used cloud provider out there.
You can do a lot of cost reduction by using the AWS. And if, for example, you have a startup, they have a really... It's not expensive at all, if you think. Because if you know what you need and you know what is your exact need, maybe with time will need to scale. But anyway, is really affordable. AWS is something that I started liking it by using it.
Okay, but my main point was that at some point, a lot of engineers, like not the admins of the servers, most of the engineers, they started deploying the code themselves, right? So you learn a bit of the Terraform, and now you can deploy basically any application to the cloud. It's not difficult anymore. So you really like teach engineers how to develop the application from zero to like production. So you don't rely on the team of like admins most of the time. So I remember myself when I was still working in the traditional web development, and yeah, I started like you develop the code, you merge it to the main, and then you run Terraform scripts, and here you're in the cloud now. You just deploy to staging and to production. This is really awesome. And then it literally takes you, I don't know, 30 minutes to release a new version of application if it was just merged to the main branch on the GitHub, for example.
This 10 years ago.
No, this is like how it's working now.
But why 30 minutes? Usually it's just like some build automation, some Jenkins.
Well, maybe
you do
even
it
like
in
5
10
minutes. Maybe even 5 minutes.
Usually when there is like some builder that is on demand, you need like 7 minutes to turn it on, and after
I
will
mean,
take
I was just
nothing.
saying like maybe 30 minutes is just like the worst case scenario.
Plus the coffee probably.
Yeah, plus the coffee. You need
like
to
10
go
minutes
outside.
plus coffee.
Yeah. But before in 2014, you have to prepare the release. You need to have like a separate branch, and then you need to go ask admins, to start rolling the process of like deploying to the self-hosted servers. And I think this kind of was a silent revolution. At least I think about it like this. I think that's a pretty cool innovation. However, and you were talking about the costs, and I ran into the problems with the cost in the lot of organization that I worked with. And at some point, AWS, it starts to cost a lot of money, especially when you start to have lots of data. And if you use proprietary things like DynamoDB in the AWS and you store like gigabytes and terabytes of data. And I remember that at some point we weren't even having too many like APIs running in the AWS, but our monthly cost was around like $25,000 in AWS. And that was just like a crazy amount of money. And then the downside is that at some point you just realize how much money it eats every month. And then you go look through the invoices, and then you start checking what consumes most of your like the budget for the cloud. And then the devs, instead of like being busy with other things, they start to optimize their cloud solutions so they don't consume too much money. And then I remember that at some point we were just spending weeks on trying to
optimize.
Like removing unnecessary stuff from DynamoDB or like S3 buckets because it went too far. And I believe there was a competition between when the Google Cloud provider was launched. They were proposing a lot of discounts on their services. Like they had like, it's like an AWS, but from Google, and it was much cheaper. So a lot of people started using the GCP. Then it was Azure from the Microsoft, which was also quite cheap then compared to the AWS. So the competition is always good. And yeah.
And because of this, there was the price that was going down.
Yeah, because there are more like service providers in the market, and they drop the prices quite a bit. And the only problem I see with this is that a lot of engineers now in the companies, they are too dependent on the AWS. So for example, if the AWS goes down, like fucking half of the internet goes down, nothing works. Notion stops working. I don't know, Booking stops working. A lot of other SaaS applications, they just simply stop working because AWS is down. So this is the problem. And the companies that rely too much on the internal AWS structure and the services, so that it's impossible to migrate your application from AWS to the GCP or the self-hosted services, simply because the infrastructure architecture is very different. So,
but there is not also the knowledge at this point. Because is there someone capable in the company to do all the manual operation that nowadays is automatic? I'm not sure about that. So I mean, I can do it for what is my field, but there are like a lot of people that nowadays rely 100% on this tech automation. So for example, if there is like something wrong and there is some virtual machine that does not start, you create a ticket. It's a problem of someone else, but after maybe the ticket will come back to your team.
Yeah. So this is it. And that was my first item on the list. So going back to the second item on the list, and I wanted to mention my least favorite innovation of the past 10 years, which is this.
Terrible.
Wearable electronics. in general.
The Apple Watch is something that is there is no reason
This is
for
like,
existing.
I don't know. I feel like people who say that this is a great device, they're just lying to themselves and they're lying to me. And then you might ask, why do I wear Apple Watch? It's just because I'm stupid. I bought it and it costs a lot of money. And now I'm thinking, like, should I just sell it?
There was like 2 days ago we were together with all together at dinner. There was like we were like at one birthday party, and at some point on the same moment, three of us said, we want to sell the Apple Watch. There is nothing more useless that I ever bought in my life. Initially, it was really nice because I wanted to go having jogging with the earpods to listen music without bringing with me any phone, any wallet, just the Apple Watch and the keys. Okay, it's not exactly like that because anyway the battery will not be forever. There are limited. The operating system is not doing anything. It's an extension of your phone, so you can pay, but I don't know. It's if you think about that, a watch is the basic jewelry for every man. So usually there are women that use bracelet, earrings, whatever thing. A man use a watch. So there are like different choices, different taste. And if you go to the gym, for example, a nice alternative that there is costs 3 times less than this. There was one joint venture. I showed you.
Mm-hmm.
It's there was 6 months ago. There was this watch from Omega with Swatch in bioceramic, and basically was like one Speedmaster but done with different material and out from this partnership with Watch. Sold out everywhere. But that one is one of the nicest watch to go to the gym. If I have that one at the gym and you come with this, I think, nice piece of plastic. That it is what
Well,
it is.
it's like titanium, as Apple
titanium.
markets it. It's
Yeah,
like a pure titanium. But I'm just saying, like, this is not flexing. I'm just telling you, this is like the worst purchase I've ever made in my life.
What about the other smartwatch, for example, the one from Sunto?
Okay, so this is quite different. So like the Apple Watch is just marketed as like a fitness tracker. It can do different kinds of sports. It can even be used as a dive watch.
Exactly. This one is a diving computer indeed.
I never even tried it as an. I mean, why would you ever consider bringing the Apple Watch with you on the 20-meter depth instead of just using a professional diving computer from Sunto?
Exactly. I had the one from, what was one, Aladdin Pro. When I was still in Italy anyway, I could like doing diving more often. There was like the sensor on my tank and I was like reading how much oxygen I had for how deep I was. So for example, if I was like 50 meter, I knew that I was like consuming, I don't know how much air based on how much air I had in the tank. With this one,
You can do it.
You cannot do it anyway because this one is some. Imagine about a person that is a generalist. You can do a little bit of everything,
Yeah,
but does
exactly.
not mean that in a specific case, like doing diving, I would bring this piece of titanium with me.
Yeah.
But
And
also,
you know this proverb of like jack of all trades is a master of none. So like you are kind of generalist in everything. You can do like fitness tracking. You can be a kind of diving computer, but you are kind of shit in all of those domains. So like, and I was thinking maybe if I go to the gym, that might be useful for me. When I go to the gym, what it shows me like is my heart rate and basically the time of how much time I exercise at the gym. But like, how is it useful for just a normal person? Of course, if you're like an athlete, you are doing this for like professional use. I don't think you will be bringing like Apple Watch with you. You will buy a professional piece of gear that is specifically aimed to track your body metrics in the gym so you can perform better. But this one, it can't do this.
But if you go to the gym and you are a professional, you buy that. If you just want to go to enjoy your weekend, to do your training, maybe you just need really some music and to disconnect with everything. Cioè, you don't want to think, I'm receiving the email notification, I can do this, I can do that. Maybe you just need to have some relax. Listen your music, doing your exercises, and that's all. Do you really need that?
No, I don't think so. And this one, the Apple Watch, well, not mine specifically, but in general, it's very annoying because when you buy it for the first time and you plug it to the phone, all the notifications, they are enabled by default. So like you receive, I don't know, like hundreds of notifications per day from all the apps that you have on your phone. So this is like a very annoying user experience when you have to go and switch them off for every fucking application that you have. And it literally just gives you the sense of the anxiety after some period of time, because like you have, I don't know, 5 mailboxes and it literally vibrates on your hand every time you receive some spam email. And this is very annoying.
Imagine if you want to monitor your sleep. So basically, you
I tried
sleep
it. I tried
every
it.
sequence is vibrating because there is a notification.
I actually bought the application to track your like sleep cycles because I just bought it. I was like, okay, I need to, push this thing to its maximum, like, to track my sleeping metrics. And I bought the separate application, but it's very uncomfortable to sleep with this. This is not like a small watch by itself. It weighs like 100 grams and it's very like rigid. So when you sleep in the bed, especially when you're sleeping with your partner, and if you accidentally hit your wife with this thing, it actually hurts.
She would be angry. I mean,
yeah. So it's not really good at anything. To be honest,
what do you think about the Oura Ring? That is also.
I actually wanted to talk about it too, because my wife, we bought the Apple Watch together, and we both agree that this is like a worst purchase we ever made. And then my wife started like, oh, I saw a lot of people, they wear this Oura Ring, and I have actually quite a few friends working in Oura right now.
Same.
And I think it's the same kind of shit.
Oh, but you have a ring on the.
Yeah, I have a ring, but this is my wedding ring.
Okay, so if you are already used, you can have one in the other hand.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the same, right? You just put it. Maybe it's a bit less annoying than the watch. But what's the purpose of the ring? What can it do?
You can take your phone in the morning and check how you slept, if you slept well, because you don't know yourself if you slept well or not.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely need to go and consult my phone to check my sleep cycles.
You know that, for example, was not so much advertised, but there is like one ring that you can pay directly instead of using the watch. Imagine that instead of doing this ting ting, you just put your ring on the post at the supermarket or at the restaurant.
I never use Apple Watch to pay.
To pay?
Yeah, I'm only using like the iPhone contactless. I still wasn't used to like pressing the button 2 times. And sometimes people at the supermarket, when you try to pay with the watch, they just look at you like, what the fuck are you doing, man? I mean, most of the people, they just not used. Even in Finland, everything is contactless. But people still look at you like, you're doing something wrong. So I'm just doing it with the phone, and then with the watch, it feels a bit weird because you're trying to pay with your watch on the kassa. I don't think it's very natural for me.
Indeed, that was something that I liked, but also the battery is you need always to charge it.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you buy the Oura Ring, you will still need to charge it, and most likely like one time at least per week, right? Because
but this one is once a day.
This one is like an Apple Watch. How's it called? Ultra or something like that. I mean, I charge it once per 2 days, but it's still like quite annoying.
The normal one is once a day.
Yeah, the normal Apple Watch is definitely once per day. So it adds another device to your list that you have to charge once in a while, and it gets more annoying. And the most annoying part is the price.
So do we sell the Apple Watch and we take the Oura Ring?
I just want to sell all of my wearable electronics. I only have like this watch, but I just want to get rid of it and forget about it, and just get myself, I don't know, something else. But the point of it, like if you were talking that the jewelry for man is the watch, right?
Yeah,
I absolutely agree with you. But can you consider this a jewelry, right? Because like you buy it today,
piece of plastic.
Yeah, you buy it today. It costs you like 1,000 euros or something. I don't know.
If you buy one Rolex, one Tag Heuer, in 10 years or 6, 8, the price didn't go down.
Most likely it will go up.
Maybe will not go up, but will not go down. This one, you bought it 1,000 euro?
Yes.
Is 500 or 400?
I think I can sell it. This is the third generation. Ultra, I bought it for 1,100, and now I can sell it maximum for like 400 euros.
So it lost like the 60%.
Yeah, so it's like the very expensive gimmick. It's not the watch, it's not the jewelry for men, and then it loses it depreciates its price over the time. So like, yeah, I think the wearable electronics are just bad. And I mean, I'm not sure how Apple is doing in terms of like sales and the profits that they can get from the Apple Watch. I think the most profits they make are from the AirPods. AirPods are great.
Yeah, that's one I really like them.
Yeah, the AirPods are really great. But this one, I'm not sure if they're making any money off the Apple Watch because it's just useless.
No, they are still doing, because anyway, there are a lot of people that want to monitor not the art, but they want to monitor the steps. And they think that there is like the Apple is something that they feel that is a brand that is more like luxury. Instead, is like something that they feel initially. After a couple of months, they understand what it is for real. For Apple, I really love to use the MacBook when I'm working. I really like the iPhone because it's like simple. You don't need to do too much effort to have something working. You have something, you don't need to do any configuration, works. But at the same time, we are talking about one phone. If we need to start having one gadget for every particular case, that one is like making your life more miserable than...
Yep. And just to conclude the point, the price and the alternatives, and you are as a watch enjoyer, I can give my options. Like for 1,200 euros, you can buy a brand new one, Longines.
Yeah, Longines is the brand.
And Longines is, in my opinion, is the great entry watch into the Swiss mechanical watches. Great mechanism.
There is what is that? I don't remember the name. Japanese.
Seiko.
The Seiko and Grand Seiko is I think is the entry point.
I don't think you can buy the Grand Seiko for 1,000 euros. I think Grand Seiko, they start from like 5,000, 7,000.
I think the Seiko is like 400, 450.
Yes,
the Grand Seiko, you can find something still.
Yes, Grand Seiko is like a Rolex, but from Japan. Or like Omega, but from Japan.
They are still mechanical. But for example, there are like the Longines is a great brand. For example, you for some reason you are in the Zurich airport in Switzerland. That one is an airport that is there are all the brands of watches. You spend your time when you're waiting for the second flights only just like trying and having a look on all watches. That place is amazing. I really love it. But at the same time, for example, I know what is the next watch that is in my list, and will be in titanium, I can tell you. And this will be also squared, and is some kind of iconic.
Is it Cartier?
No, that is not a watch.
Okay. So
it's like a Tag Heuer.
Okay, so if you are considering, just to conclude the point, if you are considering buying the Apple Watch, like just a gadget,
go at the pub and drink.
That's your money. Go for it. I would just not recommend doing that. And if you want a nice watch, look at the Longines Conquest or Hydro Conquest. These are beautiful watches, beautiful movement, and you will sell those watches in 10 years for the same price you buy them today. This one is just like it will turn into a piece of, I don't know, titanium that is not working in 10 years because you cannot really replace the battery in this. So this was my second item on the list. And while we were talking, I received the 5 notifications on my Apple Watch, and it drives me crazy. Okay, so we are moving towards the AI. And you don't want to talk about AI.
But it's not. We are always talking about AI.
Okay.
Right now I can tell you, for example, about the AI, there is one thing that I really liked that I saw in LinkedIn. Basically, do you remember iRobot with Will Smith?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, basically there is OpenAI that I don't know if it was just like a meme or a funny video, but anyway, there was this video that they were publishing this humanoid robot and was like understanding what was in front of him, was reacting on the request, was, we are going step by step more near Terminator. I would like really to see one artificial intelligence that is more like that.
Let's leave the AI to the end of this video.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the third item on my list, which was the electro vehicles.
Okay, I think that that one is something that is not really new. It's not from the last 10 years. The electric vehicles are existing since I don't know, 50 years ago. Just that there was the capacity for the battery was much lower and was not. When you want a vehicle, you want something that works for 5, 6, 700 kilometer without the need of charging it.
Let's put it this way.
We are going like
let's
that.
put it this way. This is not like entirely an innovation, right? But this is definitely an innovation on the consumer's market, because now literally every person on this planet can just go and buy electric car.
We can also talk about the autonomous vehicle. So that if you take a Tesla that is an electric vehicle, maybe not in Europe, but if you are in US, you can really configure the destination on your car, and you can stay watching. You don't need to touch the steering wheel at all. That one is like, maybe will not be so much fun if you are like one car enthusiast, but at the same time there are no vibration.
Let's talk first about the Teslas, because we both have driven a very powerful Teslas in the past years. I've driven it like 2 years ago, like 4-wheel drive Model 3, 500 HP, a really fast, really fun car. And you've driven it quite recently. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. And what were your like emotions and thoughts about it?
Consider that my daily driver is like one diesel SUV.
Range Rover.
I really like it. It's like big, it's comfortable. There is leather everywhere. It's a really beautiful car. Now, I was thinking about changing this car, and so I started. Before I booked the test drive for the Tesla, for the latest SUV from Volvo. Last week from the Audi e-tron Q4. There is the Tesla, that if you like this kind of sedan car, is like minimal. You just have a tablet. You do everything from the tablet. So you don't need to have extra buttons because you have a tablet. You do everything from there. Super silent, no vibration. It's something that is just working. It's like the iPhone of the electric vehicles. After I tried the Volvo
XC40?
No, that one is like the latest one. Is like right now they're doing a lot of advertisement, but was like was an SUV, was small, it was dangerous.
Dangerous?
Because it was not like well balanced in the way that you were driving. You were pushing like the accelerator, and the car was having a lot of horsepower. But was not well balanced. The same horsepower was in the Tesla, but that one was like you were feeling that was not dangerous, the car. Plus, that when you have like one SUV, you put your elbow on the side, you want to be comfortable. The car was small, but in fact, when I gave back the key to the car dealer, I told them, okay, this car is not for me. There are this problem, this, and this. And he told me, you're right, because there will be during end of 2024 and beginning of 2025, there will be the XJ60 that will be bigger, will have this, and that. So the point is that that one was an electric vehicle to be used as a second car. I liked the idea, I didn't like the car. So after I went trying this...
I think I tried this car too, and it was like a year ago I went on the test drive. And that was the XC40 from Volvo.
But it's hybrid, that one.
Okay. Because I've driven like XC40, that was like a full electrical small SUV. It's like the same class as the Toyota CHR. It's
You're
like
right. But I didn't like of that car that there was some blind spot on the back.
Maybe. It was definitely a very small SUV. But I remember it was not really fun to drive. I definitely agree with them. Volvos, they're not fun to drive. But it felt like you're sitting on a very soft sofa, a leather one. The interior was really nice. And that car, it had the 4-wheel drive and 418 horsepower.
You know what I didn't like of the Tesla? There are not the
interiors are shit.
No, it's just there is no leather. If you are used to have the leather in the car, you like it. And that one is some kind of syntax material. It's
okay. We're going too much about the car details specifically, but I mean we can just focus more on the tech behind the electric vehicles and what's good and what's bad. And I think what's good, I don't really believe in this, like being super eco-friendly and then that alleviates like the global warming and then everyone will be saved. Not in this case. I think like the electric vehicles, in my mind, why are they better? Because they simply they don't have like the internal combustion engine, which is the most fragile part of any vehicle, especially nowadays. If you like consider German cars, 100,000 kilometers, you have to like do a capital repairment of your engine, especially BMWs. In electric cars, there is nothing actually to repair. There are electric motors. You can just simply replace them very easily.
What about hybrids? Is the worst of both worlds?
Yeah, I mean, I drive hybrid. I mean,
then I would say let's change also the car and not only the watch.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not really like a car guy, and we just have one hybrid for the family, and this works quite well. And yeah, I mean, it consumes a very little amount of fuel, and this is like Toyota, so it's very reliable. And honestly, it's just almost impossible these days to buy like a new car that is petrol only. Most dealers like Toyota, Honda, they always sell hybrids these days. You can obviously buy like a petrol based, but it will be like the worst configuration possible, the worst interior. So the hybrid is the standard option these days. Well, this is like Europe, this is Finland. Maybe the situation is different in Italy, in Spain, somewhere else.
But in Italy, they don't want. Maybe they have a hybrid, but they don't have full electric. There is not much. What is missing is all the infrastructures. It's
Italians are they just like fun. They like the sound of V6. And they like to drive beautiful cars.
There are a lot of cars manufacturers think about. Indeed, they are not all Italian because initially Lamborghini was Italian. Now is part of Audi. There is
Volkswagen,
like
no? Is it Volkswagen Group?
Yeah, that Volkswagen is also Audi, Volkswagen. But that is good because anyway, there are all the spare parts are in common with these other brands. But there are like Maserati, I don't know, that is still Italian, but is not so much around. Ferrari, Fiat, Alfa Romeo.
What about Lancia?
Lancia is, they're not doing so much in the last years. At least they are doing like a small city car. You will not see anything like the rally cars of the 80s that were the fun.
It was very fun. But anyway, yeah, let's not talk about the hybrids.
Okay, our session of the Sofa Chat story started becoming more like, let's talk about cars. That's fun. I like it. But maybe there will be some of our
next episodes.
Yeah.
Let's move on about like the electric cars and why they're good. I think I mentioned there is no combustion engine simply because you don't have to think about that. You need to go and change the oil. You need to like show it to mechanic once in a while to check if everything is good. And then whenever I was thinking like if my internal combustion engine breaks one day, because my previous car, it was 300,000 kilometers. And it was quite an old car. I was thinking, what if one day I just sit in that car and it will not turn on and I will not be able to, be like in time at work. And this drives me crazy. With the Tesla, it's different. There is only a battery, but you always see the resource of that battery, and then you can replace it in advance because there is always this lifespan of the battery. And there are like a very simple electrical engines on the front and rear wheel. So yeah, it's very simple, and like I really pro simplification in all kinds of tech. So like any idiot can do a complex system, but only a genius and real artists can do a simple system that just works. And in my mind, the simpler the better, and electric vehicles are all about that.
For example, that one, the main problem for the electric vehicles is not so much about the vehicle. It's about understanding the life cycle of the batteries, is understanding how the electricity is generated. Because if you are just moving the problem from the car to the factory that make the electricity, you know that you can use, for example, the wind power to make electricity. You can use the hydrogen. You can also use the diesel to make the electricity.
Coal.
As they do it in Finland.
Yeah.
There are every district there is like one coal factory. If there is a surplus of request of energy, they handle it like that.
This was my next point on the list.
The
And
coal?
no, this is like a renewable sources of energy. And again, I will explain myself. I'm not by any means like an eco activist. I don't follow this trend. I just think that renewable sources of energy, they're been on the market for quite some time, right? But this is the diversification of the energy market, right? And it's a really decentralized system, right? So in one part of your country, you have the solar panels. In another part in the sea, you have the wind turbines and things like that all around, scattered the country, the sea, they're everywhere. So for example, I will just
Think about the Tesla sunroof. That one are perfect.
I will just explain why I think it's good and decentralization. Because if I'm looking at the Ukraine and the war at Ukraine, right? If the Russians hit with one missile into one power plant, the entire town electricity goes off. And like millions of people, they're sitting without electricity for a day before this factory can be repaired.
But that is war strategy. You try to do as much damage as possible.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. Like in Ukraine, the power sources are very centralized. There is like one factory that burns coal, for example, and that produces the energy. Once Russians hit it, there is no electricity.
With the nuclear
they don't.
stations
They
as well.
actually don't hit the nuclear power stations because that might be a very problematic. But if you have in Ukraine, if Ukraine would had like a lot of different kinds of like solar panels everywhere, wind turbines, it's extremely hard. It's extremely hard to damage all of those power sources because simply the rockets, they cost so much that it will not be like feasible to spend so many rockets on destroying like all of the renewable sources of energy across the country. And this is just my point. This is how I see it. And I really like that if you read like economy papers, the market is booming, and then there are a lot of like wind turbine farms building at the moment in the North Sea. A lot of people are investing, but I still think nuclear power should be our future, together with the renewable sources of energy.
Hydrogen.
What?
Hydrogen.
Hydrogen. Honestly, I don't know about too much.
Think that the Toyota is not investing in anymore in electric vehicles, but they are investing. There are also indeed some production cars that use hydrogen.
I forgot how it's named. I think it's one car that Toyota has.
Yeah, there is the same. Toyota is also doing a partnership with BMW, and right now there are some BMW X5 that use some, if I'm not wrong, some Toyota engine for that use hydrogen.
Man, I was like watching videos on YouTube about this car, but Toyota Mirai.
The Mirai.
Mirai, yes. Now I remember. And I remember I was watching reviews. People were saying it's kind of like electric vehicle, but it's a bit weird because you still need to go to the specific gas station and refuel it with the hydrogen.
Do you know what is the expense in using some combustion engine?
What do you mean the expense?
Think why the gasoline costs so much. There are the half are usually taxes, but the other half usually is not all the cost of the fuel itself, but is the transportation. If you use the hydrogen can be created in the same station where they are giving it to you. I don't know now the process that they are using, but they don't need to move hydrogen to this kind of place. It's something that can be generated there.
I need to educate myself more a bit the hydrogen because I was not paying too much attention, but I remember there was one downside. What people telling is that there is simply not a lot of the infrastructure built for.
No, there are not at all.
In Finland there is none. I know that in America, in California, you can find those gas stations when you can refuel your car with the hydrogen, but I remember that the hydrogen is quite dangerous, so it should be stored in those gas stations under very high pressure, and if something goes wrong, there might be an explosion or something.
That's true.
Yeah, so
Can I ask you why? I don't know if it's part of your list, because anyway, this topic is really nice about the future for the energy, because anyway we cannot really think that we will use coal or diesel forever. That one they are going to finish at some point, and they are really bad for the
Environment.
For the environment. So anyway, at some point we can also read more about sustainability and to have like a specific session podcast about that. Let's change a little bit the topic. Now I try to give you some hint, because here is pretty easy to understand that you like to take photos, you like the videography, you like making podcasts, but you didn't mention about drones. You didn't think, or you?
I actually didn't think about drones, to be honest.
10 years ago were not existing drones. We were really, if you wanted to take one video from the sky or to do something like that, was not possible. Maybe it needed to be done with some helicopter.
Exactly, and that costs a lot of money.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's like a couple of $100 and you can connect your phone and to have a video in 4K with a really decent resolution. And
I think I didn't think about it just simply because that doesn't really excite me too much.
You didn't try it, but I have one at home.
No, I actually tried flying with one drone, and I mean, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun, but yeah, I'm not sure how turn it into the hobby. Maybe if I'm doing more like videography in the future, I will consider like buying a drone that can film from the skies.
You need to think I still need to clean the blood from my drone, because
that sounds scary. Did you kill anyone?
No, not yet. It's just that you know that when you have a dog, usually they get pretty excited. So my dog tried to catch the drone, and he made it, but there was some blood.
Okay, so yeah, the only thing I can say about the drones and how they revolutionized the war now, because we can see, like, I follow war in Ukraine closely because, as you might know on this channel, I'm Ukrainian, and I would say that they revolutionized the war, and especially FPV drones with the explosives. So they're kind of doing, they're all-purpose drones, right? Some drones are doing intel from the skies. They're like checking if the enemy army is moving. The FPV drones, they're specifically targeting enemy soldiers and enemy vehicles to destroy them. And I think that's something we never seen in the past 10 or 20 years, and this is booming now. I know that Ukraine is doubling down now on the drone production within the country because this really helps.
They're really cheap to be produced.
Exactly. They're really cheap to produce, and they're kind of replacing the artillery shells and the artillery in general as a battle, how to put it, like a battle domain in a sense, because Ukraine is now struggling. There are not so many artillery shells being supplied by the allies. So Ukraine is now resorting back to the drone. So I think in the nutshell, it's a small revolution, and I'm pretty sure we will see a lot of development in this kind of direction in the future, especially in the military, but also in the delivery, maybe.
So, for example, I'm not sure if here there is no Amazon in Finland, but I remember when I was in Italy living there, I could really take one, buy something, and to have it delivered the same day. Nowadays, they are doing some, how to say, they are testing this delivery with drones. And that one, I imagine that you don't need to do anything. There you will receive some notification from your Amazon app. Your package is arriving. Maybe I don't know what is the procedure because I didn't try it myself, but they are under testing in this moment. Maybe they had some problem with the agreement with the country about, this kind of flying object can be a bit dangerous. I don't know how they solved this kind of blocker, but at the same time, imagine you can receive at home, you buy something online, you receive it, no human contact, so it will be really fast.
That would be super cool to see. at some point in the future. And I think the China is already doing that.
You know what I really love here indeed in Finland? I don't know if you ever ordered some grocery shop from Alepa.
No, not yet.
There are like the small robocart that can deliver your shop directly at home. I saw it somewhere in Espoo indeed.
In Espoo, I was thinking it's only Helsinki because it will be very hard in Espoo to deliver something.
I saw them only in Espoo.
Okay.
I don't know which is the shop itself, but it's one company from Finland. And imagine that everything is automated. You don't need to do anything. Usually, maybe faster by using this food delivery service.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like pretty amazing thinking that you can do an order at whatever time of the day and you receive your grocery. Maybe with all these simplification will make us like
more lazy.
Yeah, much more lazy.
Yeah.
But if I need to think, I want to have a pizza, and after I take the phone and I check, okay, we'll come here in 10 minutes. There is not effort. Nowadays, before we were talking together about after that we were student, we started working. Now, if we have a wish, we buy something. The same is for the delivery. If you think I need to go to the shop that is like in 12 kilometers, maybe after you don't even go because maybe you have other things to do during the day, and after you forget. So, because of all this simplification, there is not even so much the wish. I want this done. There is not you are not having any effort for getting what you need.
Agreed. So, I mean, we went through like 4 or 5 items, and there were mostly no AI mentioned and no blockchain.
Okay. Now, let's think about usually how works the innovation. The innovation is inspired usually by Hollywood. So, for example, we have the humanoid, Terminator, iRobot. As I mentioned before, there is like something that is in hype in the last couple of years. They are trying to do a lot. But there is one thing that we didn't mention that I would really love. And at some point we wanted really to talk during one podcast. But you didn't really like the idea. And is augmented reality. That one, I think that if there was something like the glasses are something that I'm also wearing. It's not like a watch. Imagine that in your vision, if you were having, for example, the direction from Google Map, maybe you can set your destination. You are a tourist. You're not showing that you are a tourist because it's like as part of your glasses, and you have all the indication. Or maybe you can read the message from a person directly without taking the phone in your hands. Something like that. Exists also the augmented reality in the car. You told me that you were trying some car that had already in the windscreen the projection about
my
the speed.
car has this how's it called? Headlight display?
Head-up display.
Yeah, a head-up display that you see. For those who don't know, when you drive, you don't need to read your instruments on the bottom like the mechanical ones. You just read it from your windscreen because the image has been projected on the windscreen. I think that we are too early to talk about the augmented reality simply because no one can implement it in a decent way. And the last try was done by Apple. They did this Apple Vision Pro that a lot of people see. There were a lot of memes over the internet. I was considering buying it simply because I really like the idea that if you put these glasses and then if you are working, for example, you're doing some engineering work, and then you can project, 5 displays without having an actual display taking the place on your desk, right? So it's really like cool concept and idea, but in the end, you can't do it with the Apple Vision Pro. You can use your MacBook and you can take visualize your MacBook screen, make it a bit bigger with the Apple Vision Pro, but you cannot make 4 different or 5 different displays around you and then manipulate them and code on different ones. So it kind of I didn't buy the Apple Vision Pro simply because it cannot do it. And then many people say that it's still a bit weird device And I'm just afraid that it's going to be as gimmicky as the Apple Watch for now.
Did you know that was a project of the time of Steve Jobs?
The Google Glass?
No,
Or you mean
the-
like Apple?
The Apple Vision Pro.
No, I didn't know.
There was a patent that was done already when there was the iPhone and so on.
Okay.
But that one is something that I think it arrived in a moment that I know that is like really, really good as hardware, but is too heavy. The battery is not. Imagine that you want to bring your Apple Vision Pro in one flight. The battery will not last 2 hours. You cannot even finish a movie. This is something that you think, is cool. If you keep it for more than 15 minutes, it's something that is heavy. So the technology is just not ready. $3,500.
I think it's 2,600
Yeah,
or
maybe
something.
they need to make some discount.
It's still like very expensive. It's at the same price as a really good MacBook Pro with the M3 Max or M3 Pro or something. So, I mean, I don't think the price... I mean, Apple is trying to innovate. I get that. I think it's good. But I don't think it's consumer ready. And the first iteration is
Crap.
It's not maybe that good at this time. But I'm pretty sure that there will be like a second iteration and the third iteration, and they will be much better, more consumer friendly, and of course.
And I already know that they will say in 10 years when there will be something that is really good, this is what we had in mind since the beginning. I remember that when they added the eSIM in the Apple Watch, there was, what is the name? There was the CEO from the Apple that used these words. This is what
Tim
we
Cook.
had, Tim Cook.
Yes.
This is what we had in mind since the beginning.
Well,
It's
this is
like,
Apple
this is
marketing.
what we were waiting for the last 7 years. After they implemented it, and was not so much wow effect was there.
But honestly, the maximum what I would want from the augmented reality is the simple glasses, like just the normal glasses that you wear, or like I don't know the sunglasses from the Ray-Ban that has a bit of displays in them, and they can display maybe some useful information on that. But I don't really think I don't think I really need anything more of that. Maybe it might be useful, and maybe I know that a lot of the pilots in the military planes like F-16, F-35.
That one they have the helmet with all the information that are displayed directly there.
Yeah.
That one is nice.
Yeah,
But it's the same idea of your car. It's the same idea of having the navigation information from Google on your glasses. But so it's not that much that you can have, but it's something that can help you. It's I don't know. Imagine you are on the airplane. You can watch a movie without having this kind of heavy helmet on your head.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that when I was kid, at some point I went to one conference. I don't remember what was, and there was this kind of helmet. The name was FSX1, and there was this kind of shooter 3D, and there was a nice experience. I tried it. I really liked it. And so far there was graphic was terrible, was heavy,
But it felt really good.
It felt
Back in the days.
that was like innovation. It was like the first thing that was out after they tried to make new iteration of this product, but was too early. Just that the hardware was not was not ready, was not good enough. So after, when something is like amazing, people will start buying it because they want it. It's not just matters of marketing, but it's like if something is not good enough, will be forgotten in a blink of an eye.
Yes. Okay. I think we are recording for 55 minutes almost.
Oh,
And I think
so much.
we can conclude at this point. So see, no blockchain, almost no AI was mentioned during
So
this
basically,
podcast.
I need to ask him, please don't talk about this topic, because in the previous 5 sessions we talked a lot about AI, and indeed, it's I mentioned myself about OpenAI with
It's everywhere these days. It's hard not to talk about it. It's literally everywhere.
But imagine just like I'm using it more and more. It's something you just cannot avoid. You can make your work much easier. You can find bugs in a really easy way, and by using Copilot, you can have bugs in a much more easy way.
That's true also. Okay, but thanks for watching this video. If you watched until the end, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Thanks to Giuseppe for hosting this again.
Yeah, but indeed, I tell you a secret. The podcast is only an excuse to take some alcohol and drink. So it's really nice.
Drinking is bad. Don't drink. Well, maybe a bit.
Fun.
Maybe a
but
bit.
Today we had the problem that anyway we didn't have ice. So we took something different, but next time we need to be more ready.
He just told all of our production secrets.
Yeah, it's the reason why we have some ideas and we are so fluent and we are so much focused. But indeed, it's like just something that we are doing for fun. And myself, I like it more and more. So I'm even sad when we don't find the time, like last week, that there was like...
Okay. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, and see you next week.
See you next week.
Guys, have a good Easter.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.